My name is Roswitha, and I have been in education for more than 40 years as an educator and an administrator in the United States and throughout Europe. I'm retired, however, working as an educational consultant because I passionately believe that all children should get the very best education possible. Today, I would like to focus on how to prepare the next generation for the future. This is not an easy task, for sure. In this ever-changing, fast-paced world that we are living in, how do we as educators, parents, and community help the next generation to become the leaders of tomorrow? Notice that I didn't say, how can schools help the next generation? I want you to imagine a triangle, and at the top of the triangle is a student. Then at one corner is the school and the educators, and the other corner is the community. After all, Hillary Clinton in her book said it does take a village to raise a child. This book was published in 1996. And I quote, "Home is a child's first and most important classroom. Gone are the days when you drop off your child at school and say, 'Let the school take care of it.'" Another quote is that the parents, can resist the impulse to prove their love by showering children with things they do not need and give them precious time and attention instead. Children, most of all, want time and attention and not just things. Another powerful message in her book was that parents need to back up school authority and stop making excuses when the child misbehaves. I received many calls from parents when a child wasn't really sick. Now that we know that it takes all of us to help the next generation, how do we do this? There are 3 factors for learning for life. These 3 factors should be considered to help the next generation. First, develop a lifelong learner. Secondly, instill strong family values. Respect, ethics, trust, and understand the significance of community. That's the third one. Let's start with the first one. How do you develop a lifelong learner? Well, children by nature are curious, and each child learns at a different pace. Maria Montessori discovered that children by nature are curious and wish to learn. She also discovered that given the appropriate environment and materials, children will choose to apply themselves to learning. Piaget's theory, which proposed the 4 major stages of development and learning for children, suggested that children can learn certain things at certain ages, but only approximately. That is to say, not all children will learn to read or speak at a certain age. Some will develop earlier and some later. Even families with more than one child can attest to that. Each child is different. So how can we help children become lifelong learners? I clearly remember a conversation that I had with my dad in the early 80s. He worked in a pharmaceutical factory, and we talked about how many people were losing their jobs because of computers, and that computers were taking over their positions. I remember thinking that workers have to continue to evolve and learn how to run those computers. To me, this marked the necessity for everyone to become a lifelong learner. They had to challenge themselves and not be afraid to take risks. Here are some tips to help your child become a lifelong learner. 1, encourage curiosity at all ages. Allow them to explore, ask questions, read, and test out their theories. 2, promote problem solving. One quote from Tim Elmore, who was the founder of Growing Leaders, said, "I see many parents doing everything for their kids instead of letting them fend for themselves. Children are not allowed to make decisions or make assumptions. He also said we must prepare the child for the path, not the path for the child. Well, how do we do this? Here are some activities and suggestions, and please note that they're not specific gender. Boys will do the same thing as girls can do. First of all, prepare simple meals together. If your child has a favorite dish, he or she should write down the recipe and try to do it by themselves. You should always try to read and write together. Send grandparents a card or a drawing. When you're using the internet, create guidelines together. So it's a win-win situation between you and your child. Some of you may laugh at this next suggestion, but teach your children how to do laundry. I know too many kids that head off to college without knowing how to do their laundry. Help your child to plant a seed and document its growth. Write a letter together. You'd be surprised what children under 10 can even do. Children under 10 can help someone who's choking and learn the Heimlich maneuver. Children should also be able to treat their own wound. If they have a scratch or a cut, how should they treat it? Navigating is a fun activity for children. Create a map from home to school. Another thing that is useful is comparison shopping. Check the quality and price of the product. What child doesn't know or doesn't like to receive a gift? Well, teach your child how to wrap the gift and understand the concept of money, both in receiving and giving. This is a process of flowing in and out. Also, allow your child to choose what they wear instead of laying out their clothes. Additional factors in creating lifelong learners is encouraging creativity, using blocks and pretending. I know many of you must have Legos at home. Teach resourcefulness. Children need to know that we don't know all the answers, but teach them how to find the answers. Show them that learning happens every day. Yesterday, they didn't know how to tie the shoe. Today, they know. Introduce kids to new places and new experiences. Reading about a place is not the same as experiencing it. Try to find your child's passion. If they don't like to play the piano, then what do they like to do? Help kids expand their vocabulary. Ever since my children were infants, I always spoke to them in an adult language and not baby talk. And be ready for a number of questions. The second factor along helping the next generation, after a lifelong learner, children need to understand the importance of family values. Theodore Roosevelt said, "To educate a person in mind and not morals is to educate a menace to society." Values include both what you hold dear, such as a family, education, democracy, or equal dignity for all people, and what you think is important to be, such as compassionate, hardworking, or honest. When you teach your child family values, make it relevant. Say, for instance, should your 14-year-old tell the teacher that some of the kids are cheating on the test? Secondly, be aware of what you're modeling. Students and children model and want to be just like their parents. Help your child develop empathy. The only way that kids can be empathetic is by being treated empathetically and by watching you respond to others with compassion and kindness. Talk explicitly about your values and why they're important to you. And talk about why you make decisions based on your values. It's important to label and reinforce expression of values. For instance, you can tell your child, oh, you figured out that all by yourself to get your homework assignment done that you missed. That's what I call resourceful. And finally, resist lecturing. Have a discussion with your child instead of trying to lecture. Along with values comes community involvement. This is the third part of the talk. I consider myself very privileged to have such a wonderful, supportive people around me, and I believe that you can say that for yourself. But look around us, and there are many individuals that do not have the same opportunities and advantages as you do by looking outside of your community. Therefore, as a parent, you can model community involvement, volunteering to the welfare of the community or the school. Volunteer for community service projects as a family. Encourage your child's initiatives that express budding values. Say, for instance, that your kindergartner wants to clean up the playground or do a beach cleanup. You can get a group together or just do it as a family. Teach and model good sportsmanship. If you miss the ball playing tennis, don't say the sun got in my eyes. And practice doing the right thing to be the people we want to be. In summary, how do we actually prepare our young people for the future? Help them become lifelong learners. Show them the importance of family values. And understand the significance of community and community involvement. I hope this small talk gave you some useful ideas, and take care of yourselves and your community. Remember to prepare your child for the path and not the path for the child. All the best and take care.